Welcome to Seize the Mains by Malhotra's IS Academy. I'm Sirbhi Sardana and I'm taking this daily answer writing initiative from Monday to Friday at 9 pm. In this initiative, we discuss UPSC Civil Services Mains, sample questions or previous year questions, and we teach you how to write good answers around them. The special part about this initiative is that you can write your own answers and send them to us at the given email ID to be evaluated by our experts entirely free of cost. So beginning with today's discussion, it's day 24 of Seize the Mains, and today is also the first day that we are taking our case study. This is the first case study for this initiative. So let's see what is the case study for today. So this is a long question. This is a question that has been asked by UPSC in mains exam this year only. So what you can do is you can pause the video or you can download the PDF and read this entire case study for yourself. I'll give you a gist of whatever has been talked about and we'll quickly learn how to write answer around it. So Sunil is a young civil servant and he has got a reputation for integrity and dedication to public service. Seeing his efforts and seeing his integrity, his senior officers post him to an area where illegal sand mining is very rampant, and they think that he'll be able to handle it perfectly and he'll be able to curb this issue and tackle this menace of illegal sand mining. So what happens is when Sunil is posted in this district, in this area, he realizes all the ins and outs of illegal sand mining going on there. He starts raiding these trucks. He starts banning illegal sand mining and he starts launching raids. So what happens is that his family gets threatened. The local tribal musclemen are involved in threatening him and his family, and influential people of that area for the sand mafia who are carrying out this illegal sand mining, they are entirely against it and they don't want this sand mining to be curbed, so they keep on threatening him. And later he also realizes that many people from his office, his juniors, are also involved in this menace. So what are the options available before him? In this question, we are asked to identify the different options available to Sunil in attending to this situation, and then we have to critically evaluate each of the options which have been listed by us, and finally we have to choose one option that, had it been you at Sunil's place as an IS officer posted in that area, what would be the option that you would have chosen? So which of the above do you think would be the most appropriate for Sunil to adopt and why? So this is a very simple case study. And see, in ethics answers there is nothing right or no wrong answer. In case studies also, whatever answer you give will be right because that is your answer. That is what ethics is about. But to get more and more marks, to get the highest possible marks for a particular question, you will have to learn the ins and outs of answer writing and case studies also. So let's moving further. The first rule in ethics is that handle case studies objectively and not emotionally. In fact, even in your interview, many questions are asked like in form of case studies and interview as well. So whenever you are being given these problems or issues, don't let your emotions overpower you. Be emotionally intelligent at that time and handle these case studies very mathematically, very objectively, very rationally, and then you will be able to reach the right answer if you follow this approach. Give a quick reading and underline the important points. Every problematic part or issue of the case study should be addressed. Don't miss out on anything. When options are asked from you, create at least 3 options. So what they say is that whenever there are options asked from you, for example in this question that you have to give different options that are available before Sunil. So what you have to do is write at least 3 options or at most 3 options. The first option should be the ideal one, or you can keep it the last one. The ideal option should be the most reasonable one. This will be selected by you at last, that this is the most ideal option and this is what Sunil should take, and this option should be elaborated the most. The second one should be which is partially reasonable and partially not reasonable. It could be against the dedication to public service or any public service value or any personal value per se. The third option would be something that would be entirely rejected. So you will give least amount of explanation to this one because this has to be rejected. So don't waste time over this one. Write pros and cons for each, especially when the examiner has given you that you have to critically evaluate all the options. So write pros and cons for each and elaborate, as I said, that elaborate your favorite option the most. And in the end, towards your conclusion or after, when you have taken a stand, when you have chosen one of the options, give a philosophical base for your thinking. If you have some knowledge of laws or acts or fundamental rights or just ethics paper vocabulary that around public service values or components of emotional intelligence, so write that down. For example, if it is about, you know, information being given to the public or a service delivery to the public, so use RTI Act, Public Service Delivery Acts, write their names in the paper, so they validate your answer. The last point is that all answers are correct, but try to choose the option which does the justice to maximum stakeholders. And professional duty, personal values, personal life, protects the vulnerable sections. So whatever takes a 360-degree approach that makes most of the people at least happy on an average basis, that would be your most ideal answer. So go for that. Structure, talking about the structure of how to answer a case study, first has to be the introduction. For example, here we are given the case of illegal sand mining. So talk about sand mining in 1 or 2 lines, that illegal sand mining is an issue and many officers have been facing this, or many officers have been threatened in the past, and Sunil is one of them. So explain the general nature of the issue in the question. Write the ethical issues involved, that what are the ethical dilemmas that Sunil is facing here. Next, write down the stakeholders which are involved. For example, what are the stakeholders here? Stakeholders, the government, because Sunil is a government employee, this illegal mining mafia, the colleagues in his office, the juniors working in his office, his family is a stakeholder because his family has been threatened. And when you list down all the stakeholders, write down all the options. After that, take a stand for choosing one option, that I choose the first option or the last option, and then conclude your answer. And always learn from examples of real IAS officers. For example, you must all have heard about Srimati Durga Shakti Nagpal, that she was the one who has been associated in the past with handling illegal sand mining cases, fighting politicians, fighting land mafias, all of these people, and she's successfully done it. So quote examples, or if you cannot quote examples in your case studies, just learn from these people what were the things that they did in their real life, and that can be quoted in your ethics answers as solutions, that what are the options available with Sunil. So just copy whatever she did here, like 1 or 2 points. So here we have a table which differentiates that what are the people who are on side of Sunil, on his side, and the people who are against him. So on Sunil's side, first thing has to be he himself. So he needs to be protected because he is getting a lot of threats, so he can increase his protection. The first here is his own family, so they also need to be protected so that they feel safe. They cannot be sent to some other place because that would show that he got afraid or he got scared. So that is not a good option to be there. Increase their security. So family has to be protected, and his seniors who have worked in this area, or his seniors his superiors who were there, who he was working under in the past, so they can be approached for help. They can be of help to him. Who are the people against him? First are the land mafia. The land mafia are against him, so they have to be tackled. The other are the local tribal goons which are threatening his family and giving him warnings that we'll kill you or things like that. So they also have to be tackled. The last point is office employees. So watch this very carefully. Office employees are somebody whom Sunil has to work with. He is posted there, either he gets transferred or he has to work with those office employees only. So even if he does something, even if he takes some disciplinary action against these people, these office employees are on their side and they will tell him. So these people have to be tackled. We will see that can we bring these from there to there, from against him to his side. Are there any solutions? Yes, of course there are. Since they are his juniors, before complaining, he can try to motivate them or give him a last warning or give them a last chance to improve and to be dedicated towards serving the people and towards their duty. So if they can be brought here by giving a warning and one chance, so that would be the ideal approach. And also their actions can be monitored in future. For example, if there are 5 people who are involved with this who are on this side, who are against him. So there could be 3 of them who would want to convert, or 4 of them who would want to come to this side, but one would be there again against him in the longer run also. So disciplinary action can be taken against that one employee, which is very much efficient than taking action against all the 5 employees. So this option has to be considered. Make sure that you understand this part, understand all of the stakeholders mathematically, and this part, like something that can be shifted here, this will be there in most of the case studies. So address this part very effectively, because that will show that how good an officer can you become. Moving on to the next slide. Introduction. So in introduction, as I said, that we'll talk about the illegal sand mining issue, and we'll also talk about the stakeholders and ethical issues involved. So let me read this out. Sand, after air and water, is the most used natural resource. The need for this resource has led to the proliferation of sand mining activities and businesses. This issue of illegal sand mining is one of the gravest problems India faces today. Environment, law and order, safety of officers, interests of local people, etc. all are affected. Here are the following stakeholders that are involved. So what are the stakeholders? The first stakeholder is Sunil, who is a competent civil servant with integrity, dedication and honesty. The second is sand mafia. The third is his family, wife and mother, who have been threatened. The fourth is local functionaries. Fifth is the employees of his office. So these are the stakeholders. Briefly just list them down or state them in a paragraph. What are the ethical issues involved? Here his family's safety is at stake. A good human being, a balanced human being, doesn't put his family at stake for doing his job. For professional ethics should not be fighting against personal ethics. So his family is also his responsibility, so he has to ensure their safety also. So integrity to the service versus family security, that is the first ethical issue here. The second ethical issue is professional values versus personal values, or this is just a reframing of the first one. And these are the ethical issues here. One is the ethical issue, and it has been restated in 2 forms. So moving on, let's see what are the options that we have. What are the options that Sunil has? The easiest option is that he lets the illegal things go on. He lets whatever is going on without being worried about people, groundwater, or the quality of water that is there in the river, or without caring about the people where he is posted. So going soft on mining, letting illegal things happen, is the first approach. We have to also critically evaluate the options. So let's see what will happen if he lets the sand mining go on. First of all, it will demotivate other officers to be posted in such districts. It could also motivate some officers who would like to take bribes from such sand mafias, and they would want postings in such areas. So it could lead to a negative kind of motivation amongst the people, amongst the officers. The next thing that would happen is that law and order will never be under control, because if somebody like Sunil, who has so much of integrity and dedication towards public service, is acting in this way, is not taking any action, then who will come at the forefront to ensure law and order? So it will also motivate the sand mafias and local goons to threaten more and more people to ensure that their interests are satisfied. So Sunil can stop taking any action measure and can continue his tenure in his office. It will stop the aggression of the mafias towards Sunil and his family members, and Sunil will be able to complete his tenure in peace. So this is the positive, this is the benefit that comes out of this option, that his family will not be threatened, they'll be saved, and Sunil will also be able to do his job peacefully. So, but continued illegal sand mining will adversely affect the state, exchequer, tribals and the environment. Also, the will of the corrupt officials and the sand mafia will be emboldened, and it will compromise the law and order situation in the district. So, in the end, because Sunil is an honest officer, he'll have a guilt conscience. He'll be guilty towards that, and he will be demotivated for his further job also, for his further service also, and it will decrease his self-confidence because he would not be able to handle this bravely. So Sunil, being an honest officer, will be mentally frustrated and always be in a constant state of guilt. This will reduce his self-confidence, which will adversely affect his performance. Also, the reputation of Sunil, which was there in the eyes of his seniors who posted him here, that as a dedicated and competent officer will be compromised. It will also set a wrong precedent for his office employees. So these were the 3. This part talks about the positives that will come, but these will be short-lived, and this part talks about the negative things that will happen on the administrative front. And the last part talks about the philosophical aspect of it and the long-term impacts and the impact on Sunil's personality as well. Moving on to the next option, the second option is that he can seek a transfer. That I don't want to serve in this area is too risky for my family, and I cannot lead an ethically upright life here because what is happening is not under my control. I cannot control this situation. So he can seek a transfer. Sunil can request his superiors for his transfer from the district, describing the whole situation to them. So what are the positives of this? It will stop the stalking, mental agony and trauma for the family members, and Sunil could work in peace in his next assignment. If he gets a transfer, so his family will be saved, he will also be at peace. So, but again, this would be short-lived, and again the problem of law and order, environmental ethics and dedication towards public service comes in, and no other officer would want to take a posting in this area because they will all be threatened. Their families would not support these officers if they get posted to these areas. Families would never move with these officers. So, but this will showcase an escapist attitude. It will compromise the obligation and commitment of Sunil towards his public duty. It will aggravate the problem of illegal sand mining and motivate the miners to harass future officers to continue their actions. And things like these have been stopped by very brave officers only. There has to be somebody who takes a lead, who takes a stand and teaches a lesson to such people so that such activities can be stopped. Otherwise, they keep on harassing officers and the local people. So, the corruption in the public offices will continue without any hindrance or check. The rule of law in the district will be compromised and it will never be ensured. So, this was the critical evaluation for the second option. Let's see what is the third option. The third option is obviously that Sunil can continue the raids that he is conducting. But see, that cannot be the best approach. He will have to recalibrate the way he is functioning. He'll have to bring in more people to coordinate with him. He'll have to involve his office employees also. He'll have to take them on his side. First of all, he'll have to ensure security for himself and his family members, because you cannot do anything in your professional life if your personal life is not secure. So their lives and his own life have to be protected. So that has to be there, and recalibration of approach. Once all this chaos settles down, only then he can take the next step, and by that time he can ensure that this thing comes in the notice of a court or other departments like the Department of Revenue or the Department of Mines, which have interest, which have the responsibility to control all these things. They are also involved. Also, by that time he can take advice from his seniors or superiors posted in that area that how to tackle this issue. So the third option would be continue his actions against mafia by recalibrating his approach. So Sunil can continue his actions against the mafia and local functionaries by taking a recalibrated approach. And what are the points, what are the recalibrations that he can do? He can like tackling resistance from subordinates by giving them a chance. Give a chance to subordinates. Even when you are posted somewhere, the first thing that should come to your mind is not punishment but giving a second chance to somebody. So give a chance to the subordinates and closely monitor their actions in future. Try to motivate them, try to bring them on your side, try to tell them that you will have to be dedicated to public service because you are employed by a public office. So motivating them for honestly doing their duty and keeping their actions in check in future. This has to be the keyword for this line. Highlight this, underline this while writing your answer. Bringing the entire issue to the notice of court, alerting and involving the other government offices which are responsible for this issue. As I said, Department of Mining, Department of Revenue, etc., to take a more coordinated approach. So he'll have a stronger team when he'll be working against this issue. He can further apply for police protection for himself and his family members. The security personnel should escort his family all the time wherever they go. So at the same time, he should also inform his superiors and take a coordinated approach about the whole situation and seek their guidance. What will happen with this? It will enforce the rule of law. Other officers will be motivated to be posted in such areas, to be posted in such districts and to work against the illegal sand mining that is going on. He'll create an example, he'll create a path for future officers, and families also will take pride in if these officers if officers from their families are working against such issues, they'll not be scared, they'll not feel threatened, but they'll feel proud and they'll feel motivated towards the service. So it will enforce the rule of law in the tribal district and aid in checking corruption in the public offices. It will also free the tribals from the fear and intimidation of the sand mafia. So the local people will benefit a lot. Police protection will ensure security for Sunil, his mother and his wife. So his mother and wife were explicitly talked about in the case study. You can read it out, the entire question for yourself. So whatever is given in the question, you have to note down here also. Moving on towards a conclusion, that what is the approach that we will take. Here we have given the critical evaluation of all the three options. The conclusion is that obviously we are taking the third approach. You can take your approach, but this is the approach that will get you most marks. Also, when you are talking about three options available to you, you can add points from your side, or you could add other options, like more than 3 options, but 3 options are readable for the examiner. They tell him that okay, because the examiner also doesn't like to read a lot. He wants to see that what is the creativity or what is the innovation you've done with your answer. So keep your answers limited to 3 options. Innovate around whatever you know, whatever knowledge of laws that you have, whatever knowledge of departments that you have, or whatever ethical values you know about. So innovate around that and embellish your answer with that. So the conclusion is that we'll take the third approach, even though it is the toughest, but it can be handled and it is very much possible. So even though the third option is difficult, it is still the most suitable, because justify why are you taking the third approach. Because it will check the incidence of illegal sand mining and uphold the rule of law in the region. Exactly what are the positives of this approach, that have to be written in the conclusion, because these are the positives, that's why we are taking this approach. The police protection will deter the mafias from intimidating Sunil and his family members. It will set a precedent for other officers and their families, and they will feel safe about postings in such areas. Hence more officers will be motivated to tackle this issue, so we can have a stronger team. This option is also beneficial for the local tribals who are living in the fear of the mafia. Also, it will restore the ecological wealth. Ecological wealth of the river, the quality and the level of groundwater will be restored in the district. This option will make Sunil, giving a way forward that how it will benefit Sunil on an individual level as an officer in his professional life. It will make him even a braver and experienced civil servant who stood his ground in the face of adversities. It will help him in his future career. So that's how you conclude. Ethics case studies are very simple to handle if you keep your emotions away but alive. You have to see that what are the stakeholders involved, what are the people on your side, what are the people against your side, and what people can be brought from that side to your side. So address all of it, handle case studies mathematically, objectively. I'm repeating again and again, they are the easiest part of this paper. And these are the areas where you can get the most marks, because you don't have to study anything separately. You've already studied everything in your first 3 GS papers. You just have to creatively bring it to the examiner in your answers. So that's about today. Send your answers to us within the next 24 hours. Don't copy this answer, write it in your own language, include schematics or any innovation that you can do with your answers to get more marks. We'll send our feedbacks by the weekend, so there would be no backlog. And keep sharing your answers. Have faith in whatever you write. Start writing, because that is the only way out to get higher marks in mains. All the best. It's weekend time, so take your break, complete your targets and stay tuned with us.